Hi there, Simon from simonwoods.com. I have 5 Alsace Rieslings in front of me, but not just any Alsace Rieslings, Alsace Grand Cru Rieslings. I can't remember how many Grand Cru there are in Alsace. It's quite a few. It's sort of like 60 plus, it might even be 80 plus now, but which some people think makes a mockery of the whole Grand Cru system, but well, let's dig in and see whether it does. First one I have. I've got 3 from 2009, then a 2007 and a 2005. First one is from the Cave Vinicole de Hunneveer. Alsace has got some terrific cooperatives, and this is one of them. And this is a Grand Cru Rieslings 2009. Useful thing about it is, on the back of it, sometimes it's a bit confusing with Alsace, they've got this scale of from sec, dry, to doux, sweet, and there's an arrow, so you know what you're expecting, which isn't always the case with Alsace. 3 of the wines have got that on. These 2, which we'll come to next, don't. Anyway, this is on the dry side. Well, it smells young, fresh and vibrant. It's got a nice mix between something like the pear and very ripe apple and a more tangy citrus thing. And it's not on the lemon side. It's not even orange. It's precisely a tangerine. I get that hint of tangerine. Behind it, it feels like there's going to be quite a bit of richness and also a touch of more stony mineral character. Well, it is on the dry side, but it's got some of what I call the sweet and sour edge of Riesling. The sweetness comes from the ripeness of the fruit here, so it's in that very ripe citrus edge, and it's, as I say, tangerine, bit of clementine in there, and then the sourness is that tang of Riesling's telltale acidity, but also mixed with a bit of minerality in there. And there's this floral edge as well that gives you a bit of freshness on the finish and a little bit of lift. But it's one of those wines that just goes on, and I can still feel it charming my mouth. A really tasty introduction. I'm going to have another slug. Yeah, nice mixture of rich fruit, but with the life beyond fruit. So that floral minerality coming through nicely. Next 2. 2009's from Schumberg vineyard, which I think is the biggest in Alsace. Riesling is its forte. I think there's quite a bit of Pinot Noir in there too. But anyway, this is Albert Mann, 2009 Schumberg Riesling. Now, as I say, these 2 don't have on the back label what level of sweetness it is. Knowing the producers, they're probably going to be on that dry, just about off dry edge. And the alcohol's quite high, 13.5, 14 here. But the difference between this and the first one had that slight sour citrus edge. Here, there is a bit of the citrus in there, but it feels like it's a much richer, weightier wine. Riesling can make quite weighty wines in the right places, and here it feels like you've got this earthy, clay-like minerality coming through, as well as those tangy citrus flavours and a little bit of green apple as well. And when you come to taste it, there's like a toasty richness, as well as all that lovely citrus fruit. There's something like plums, Victoria plums as well. It's rich, tasty, charming wine. Because, as I said with the first one, life beyond fruit, there's the fruit there, but once you've got past the fruit, there's these layers of complexity. There's the toastiness, there's that clay edge, and there is a bit of, how would I describe it, maybe even hazelnut nuttiness in there. Tasty wine, richer and fuller, and yeah, I think it's a much more ambitious wine than the first one, but I think it's also a much more ambitious price. But we like that a lot. Let's see how we get on with Domaine Weinbach, Claude Capuchin, 2009. Again, Schumberg. So that was first the Albert Mann was 13.5%. This one says 14%. Half a degree higher in alcohol, but it feels like it's going to be a more tight, pithy, mineral-rich wine. Fruit flavours aren't quite as punchy and forward as in the Albert Mann, and it feels like it's more, much more of a spine, a bit more aristocratic. If the Albert Mann is the one for the pleasure seekers, this is for the one who's the pleasure and purity, head and heart. I don't know. I think there's a bit of heart in this one as well, but this one feels like it's going to be slightly more cerebral. Interesting. It's got that same toasty, nutty, almost like hazelnut character, that the brandy snap even. That I was picking up in the Albert Mann, but behind it, it's got this stern spine of fruit. Feels like it's it feels like the grapes here maybe weren't quite as ripe as the Albert Mann, but the Albert Mann maybe has got a little bit more. I didn't notice residual sugar here, but certainly you get here the richness, but also the minerality carrying it through. It feels like a more delicate, finely poised wine than the Albert Mann, despite the higher alcohol. Just one of those where you can feel it expanding in your mouth, well, not literally expanding like that, turning into the Nutty Professor or anything like that. But what I love about it is it's this. Again, the life beyond fruit. There's the juiciness, the richness of that that citrus, that maybe a little bit of that, not quite as plummy as the first one, but this stern spine that drives it through, and just it's like a seam of freshness and purity that just carries it. And the Albert Mann, I think, has got a pretty reasonable life ahead of it. Certainly I wouldn't be surprised if it's still going strong 10-15 years. This one feels like it's got even more of a promising future, although it is really attractive now. And one of those white wines, I mean, don't be afraid of decanting wines like this. Got a feeling, it's lunchtime here, I've got a feeling that come this evening, have that with some garlicky, truffly roast chicken, and I will be in heaven. Terrific wine. Next two are final two from Domaine Schumberg. First one is their Riesling Sayering 2007. And this is one of those that says on the back the richness level, and this is firmly in the dry scale. Also interesting, the first one was 13. Yeah, the first three wines are all 13.5–14%. These two from Schlumberger, both 12% and on the dry side. So probably earlier picking here. And we're back to that sweet and sour style that I was getting with the Rosacker from the Hunneveer Co-op. It feels there's more of a Germanic feel to this wine, in that, yeah, I get that slight petrol-y note. Whereas the two in the middle they majored on richness and minerality. Here it feels like a more delicate wine, and doesn't feel like it's going to have quite the weight. Is it going to be as classy? Well, let's see. Well, the Weinbach was always going to be a difficult act to follow. Here, I like that gentle freshness about it. It's still fresh. It's 2 years older than the Weinbach, but it doesn't have the intensity. It doesn't have the mineral spiciness and backbone that the previous ones have had. It's good, but it's slightly, maybe it's unfair having wine that's 12% after one that's 14%. But at the moment, it's not showing. It's good rather than great. In other company, it would look pretty good, but slightly swamped, maybe the wrong word, but yeah, slight shy fawn after the previous two weighty, intense pleasures. Let's see whether we got weighty, intense pleasure on the last one. This is Grand Cru Rieslings 2005. This one, where the arrow is between, just on the upper end of dry before it goes into medium dry. And this is similar in that, what I call the Germanic vein, the sweet and sour on the floral side. It feels like it's going to be light, again, a lighter style than the two Schlossberg wines. Is that the Grand Cru, or is it the ambitions of the producer? It's developing nicely. It doesn't feel like it's losing any freshness, but it is showing a little bit of development. The fruit has gone away from in-your-face crisp citrus fruit to just onto slightly crystallised fruit. Well, it's a more intense style than the Sayering, and yeah, I noticed a more minerally edge as well. It's still very fresh. I think 2005 was a better vintage than 2007, so it's still got a bit of freshness, and it feels like a weightier wine, despite the only having 12% alcohol. I'm not sure how much sweeter it is. As I say, that scale, it is pushing the bottom edge of medium dry, but or off dry as they call it here. No, they put medium dry, and but it's one of those that because of that tangy acidity, it comes across as a dry wine. It's good, but I think the two Schlossbergs were yeah, just that little bit of a level above. Interesting thing is, are you seeing here the character of the Grand Cru or the character of the vineyard? I think the difference between these two Schlossbergs show that in Alsace, as in most parts of the world, go for your producer, and if you find a producer whose style you like, follow them rather than pick a vineyard. Because Schlossberg, I mean, there's like 80 hectares of the Schlossberg vineyard, so there can be some very different Schlossbergs. But the two I had today were certainly my favourite of this one, of these five, and yeah, the Weinbach was top. See you soon.